This is Jody Ellis, Senior SAP Architect at Nutanix. I've been working around SAP in engineering, services, and sales roles over the last 20 years. Before working for Nutanix, I had roles at Dell and at SAP. My job is to provide customers the support they need in sizing, configuring, and deploying SAP on Nutanix.
Hi, I'm Gabby Beitler, Senior Systems Engineer at Nutanix. I'm excited today to talk with you about business-critical applications with SUSE and Nutanix. I have over 25 years experience in the IT industry, dating back to high-performance computing, and most recently with SUSE as the SAP champion for the East Coast.
What the goals are of enterprises to be able to move the business forward at a rapid pace that the market demands today, right? They're going to need fractional consumption. Companies need rapid time to market, right? And they need to reduce the costs. They have higher security standards with the breaches that are going on out in the wild. Nobody wants to be the headline of another data breach. And then at the end of the day, companies want to reduce that operational complexity that's involved in managing IT.
Thanks, Gabby. These capabilities of Nutanix are useful for SAP deployments. They allow rapid deployment of SAP landscapes, whether that be from a greenfield or the creation of copies of existing landscapes. The copies of landscapes can be useful where you want multiple sandboxes, for instance, to be available simultaneously. Not only can these be provisioned quickly based off existing landscapes, but thin provisioning allows them to take up less space within your storage. The availability that Nutanix brings also allows high availability without necessarily the need for clustering within the operating system. But where rapid switchover is required, as we will see, SUSE clustering can also be of great benefit.
11 years ago, Nutanix came to the market with HCI, hyper-converged infrastructure, as the building block of the next data center, software-defined data center. And what Nutanix invented and what we brought over from our founders at Google was this platform that combined the storage, the networking, the compute, and the virtualization. We combined that into a single pizza box, an appliance that didn't require a SAN on the back end. And the only thing it really needs is a top-of-the-rack switch to be able to function. And as a building block, we build these together to make a cluster. And that cluster has the virtualization and the applications on top of it. So it's very simple, integrated, and scales out both compute and storage. And with that build out, we have the built-in virtualization and management of the platform. It used to be in the days of what we call the 3-tier, we would put the applications and the cluster that ran it in one area, and then the management plane in the other area, in another cluster. And that was for high availability. The solution is so highly available and resilient that we can now put management inside the same cluster that's running the application. So what did our founders from Google come and contribute to us? It was this distributed file system where we have some basic principles that each node is no different than any other node. It has no higher priority, no lower priority. All nodes are created equal. We also have the idea of fail fast and fail hard. If we see an error, we just take the node out of the cluster and the cluster continues to operate as a non-event until we can repair or replace that component and the cluster remains available. To that, we added enterprise features that companies need, like snapshotting, cloning, compression, erasure coding. And one of the things that really differentiates the Nutanix platform from every other platform on the planet is the data locality. The data locality is something that the administrator doesn't need to think about, doesn't need to understand the tiering, because the cluster is intelligent enough to optimize the data. All writes in the cluster are local to the node where the virtual machine sits. That is incredibly fast performance when you're looking at the first write and read that you're doing is going into an SSD or NVMe, a cached disk. The intelligence of that is built into the platform to tier it off if you need to slower storage or to frozen data. And with that, we built in the resiliency because every piece of data is copied at least once and can be even copied twice for what we call a replication factor of 3. So you could lose 2 nodes and still have your data available. Nutanix provides the best of the public clouds in the private cloud. We build out the infrastructure as a service for you to be able to pay as you grow, to take the storage services that the application needs, be it block, file, or object, and make it a highly programmable infrastructure that you can scale out at the click of a button or through APIs. On top of that, we build a platform as a service, be it database as a service or providing support for containers alongside your SAP workloads and providing the security to keep those separate or being able to co-develop together. And that's part of the agile development that the companies need to be able to move forward in this cloud world. We bundle that with data protection and disaster recovery. Replication is built into the platform. It's just a single click to send it across the building or send the data across the world for disaster recovery. And as we talked about earlier, we have the management platform that's built into the cluster, and that extends out to multi-cloud environments.
Thanks, Gabby. The Nutanix platform offers a comprehensive solution to hosting SAP applications through cloud consumption on-premise. Whilst not all of the capabilities here would be used for an SAP deployment, they are key to the platform's flexibility. The flexibility to run multiple applications with varying demands on the platform. The dynamic runtime deployment of resource across the cluster, which is so valuable for many applications, is balanced by the need to ensure SAP's configuration rules for production systems are followed, be they SAP Hana or legacy SAP implementations. Such a demanding instance, as is the typical SAP Hana, is provided the dedicated resources it needs. Provided these at the speed, security, and availability necessary for the critical work of this in-memory system. All this while being in the simple to manage, simple to deploy, and simple to grow environment that Nutanix provides. The SAP team at Nutanix works closely with our colleagues from SUSE. We run our certification and test systems using the SUSE Enterprise Linux for SAP applications, as do many of our customers, and indeed SAP. We have joint engineering activities, and both of our companies are obviously partners within SAP's support mechanism. A certification specific to SAP HANA is required by SAP, and Nutanix was the first HCI vendor to certify both scale up and scale-out implementations. We do these certifications along with our OEM partners, and servers are available from Dell, Fujitsu, HPE, and Lenovo for SAP HANA implementations. These servers are 2-socket and 4-socket enterprise servers, and using Cascade Lake processors, they have 6 memory channels per CPU, and so a memory capacity of 6 or 12 DIMMs per CPU, as all memory channels must be balanced for use with SAP HANA. Having this balanced memory configuration means that the server's CPUs typically have 384, 768, or 1536 gigabytes per socket. With the CVM being in user space, the CPU socket it resides on cannot also be used for production SAP HANA as per SAP's rules. This CPU can be used for other purposes though, such as the application tier or non-production instances, including non-production SAP HANA. So for production SAP HANA with scale up, we have up to 3 sockets assigned and so up to 4.5 terabytes of memory. With 6 nodes, scale out can go up to 27 terabytes. Both AHV and ESXi hypervisors are supported for SAP HANA in production and non-production use, though currently VMware isn't available for this use on the Fujitsu platforms. SUSE Enterprise Linux for SAP can be used for SAP and SAP HANA on the customer's choice of hypervisor. Part of my job at Nutanix is to make sure that the configurations meet both the customer's needs and the SAP rules, providing the capacity needed now and for growth, without burdening the implementation with unneeded and ultimately unused resource. Any of the systems used for SAP HANA can also be used for legacy SAP implementations, allowing a simpler move to SAP HANA as plans allow. In addition to these systems, additional OEMs can be used for purely legacy SAP implementations, such as Nutanix's NX platform or those from Cisco. As there are specific rules around all production SAP, please check with us here at Nutanix when looking at any potential implementation. SAP landscapes along with SAP HANA are simply installed to allow Nutanix to maintain data and application through loss of a node, or indeed adding one. Loss of a node through failure or maintenance will not lead to data loss. The application instances too can move node. For an SAP HANA instance, the system has to reload an amount of columnar data after its restart. If a node running an SAP HANA instance were to fail, it might take around 20 minutes for the SAP HANA system to be back and functional with sufficient columnar data loaded. This without a dedicated SAP mirror, simply with the Nutanix cluster having spare resource to allow the SAP HANA instance to respawn, allowing the Nutanix system to look after system availability. For faster switchover of the database, SAP utilities such as SAP HANA System Replication can be implemented between 2 servers within a SUSE Linux cluster. The Nutanix platform inherently provides availability and the ability to recover systems to a point in time should that be required. The addition of operating system utilities and SAP capabilities enhances that availability. Data and system availability can also be maintained across sites. With a combination of SAP HANA System Replication and Nutanix Data Replication being used to keep the datasets and application images synchronized. As with most remote site implementations, this link would typically be asynchronous. As the SAP systems are used, features of the Nutanix environment help simplify administration of its infrastructure. The ability to move instances across nodes allows nodes to be upgraded to maintain their code levels. Snapshots of the VMs allow for rapid point-in-time recovery, working alongside full SAP backup utilities, such as those from Veeam. For SAP, and other applications, SUSE has a number of aids to automation, simplifying deployment and upgrades. In addition to the tools available from SUSE, there are a number from Nutanix. One of these is Calm and helps automate repeated tasks around installation. A library of scripts can be used to deploy new instances, such as application tier instances or Fiori for SAP S/4HANA. Another tool, called Era, adds various automation mechanisms around databases, including SAP HANA. An example of its use with SAP HANA would be the cloning of a database for use as a sandbox instance. After taking an instance with obfuscated data, Era can clone that and make the changes necessary for its subsequent use within a new landscape. This can be tied to an app tier provisioned through Calm and SUSE's deployment tools. Nutanix continues to gain and keep customers across the enterprise, across the world. We are recognized by Gartner, Forrester, and others as a leader in HCI, with a customer net promoter score and Gartner peer insight score reflecting that. Nutanix is the first and leading HCI vendor in the implementation of scale-up and scale-out SAP HANA. The platform provides a cloud deployment model that is high performance while being highly scalable, available, and secure. A platform that is easy to manage and consume. And our customers agree. Nutanix brings simplicity and ease of use to the typical complexity of SAP deployments, inherent availability, automation, and resource sharing with simplified deployment and simplified management.
We take that leadership and we partner with the best of brand companies in the world. We partner with SUSE, where 70% of the SAP applications run. We partner with SAP, where 90% of HANA installations are running on SUSE. It truly is a better together story, being Nutanix the first platform to be certified for HANA, with SUSE the market leader for SAP applications. And I'd like to invite you to do a test drive today of the Nutanix platform. You can reserve a cluster of your own for 4 hours or extend it up to 8 hours. There are engineers, my peers, available at any time when you're working on the cluster for any questions. It's a self-paced, and we take you step by step on building out your software-defined data center.
Here you see the links to resources at Nutanix. These provide more details for our work with and support of the solutions from SAP and from SUSE. Please reach out to us for any more information around SAP on Nutanix. If you'd like to try out the Nutanix solutions, why not sign up for a test drive to get some hands-on time? And of course, there are plenty of reference materials on the web at varying technical levels and lots of educational videos on YouTube. Please also take a look at the SUSECON 2021 video that our Nutanix colleagues Baz and Jose created. In it, they chat about the benefits automation can bring to deployments on the Nutanix platform. Thank you for watching this overview of SAP and SUSE on Nutanix.